All right. I have a motion to open the meeting of the Holyoke Planning Board for Tuesday, January 24th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Nathan,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Mimi.
Yes. So we are open, and do you want to take up the special permits, site plan review, et cetera, first, or planning board business first?
I'd say let's do the special permits and get them done, just in case something that comes up when we have our joint hearing needs to be dealt with in business later.
Okay, works for me. In that case, first up is the special permit for the sign size that we just looked at for Bay State. And do we have a proposed notice of decision? I realize that we may not, because it is, oh, so we do. That's what happens when I try to read the agenda and switch back to this screen.
Well, basically, this was an easy one to kind of do because of the fact that we kind of take the last approval and just kind of plug in the 65 and put it up to the 80. So it was kind of an easy, redo or amendment.
Yeah. And we did previously approve this language.
You did, but
Yes.
at that time it was for smaller, it was for the entrance sign and the smaller, building moniker sign in the front.
Yeah, so this seems very straightforward to me, and I would approve it as it's drafted, if it is the will of the rest.
Can I just ask one question? It says increase in sign size and multiple signs, but now it's only, does it now only count as one sign?
Yeah, so we need to
Yeah.
remove that.
That's why I just highlighted that thing.
Okay.
Yep. And what does one do with the special permit for multiple signs that has been issued to them?
Well, I mean, I guess you could probably put a condition that this negates the former approval. Now that I'm just, thinking about that now, you could add a third condition that this notice would therefore
Replace
nullify
this.
the previously approved file number blank and in its place be blank, this new special permit.
Yeah, I suppose the other alternative is, and I think that this is the direction to go in, but we could also think of this as being basically like what happens when there are multiple site plans approved for one site.
Right.
I mean, they can all be in effect simultaneously. It's just that the proponent can only build one of them.
So does that mean not a condition number 3, or it's an assumption that's made?
Well, I don't see any problem with putting the condition in just for tidiness.
Sharon, if you want, we can look at our
Yep.
previous approved
Yep.
language that we've used in the past.
Yep, just want to give myself a note.
Yeah. And we can grab that file number.
Yep.
Unless, yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna get some bread. Excuse me.
okay.
Okay, well,
Or is there a rationale, since either one is fine with us and we don't really care? Should the maybe the third condition can be phrased something like, only one of this or this can,
isn't that kind of inherent in the, well, maybe not. People
If you-
make all sorts of weird assumptions.
if you say this negates the previous one, then we're saying that this is the only one they can do, which is fine, because that's what they're asking for now. But we could phrase it in a different way, which is to say they can do one or the other, but not both, because we're fine with either one.
But the fact is, which decision are they going to record?
Yeah, and then we would have to go back and amend the previous one.
Okay. That's a good argument. It replaces the former one or negates the former one.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the special permit?
I move that we approve the special permit with the addition of a condition number 3 that Sharon and Jeff will wordsmith tomorrow.
Just one little detail we want to look at. So Gerninder is listed there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, then, okay, great. All right,
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Rosanna, do you want a second later? I mean, I'll second this one, but Rosanna, if you want a second later.
I will second them. I was punishing my kid, sorry.
Oh, okay, well, I can do it. I don't mind. All right, thank you, Rosanna.
By roll call vote, Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Nathan,
Yes.
Nate,
Yes,
Mimi,
Yes.
Nate.
Okay. Next up is the zoning text change for battery storage facility, which we're not going to get to as a decision tonight because we're way far away from even closing that public hearing, I think.
Correct.
And that brings us to the create food trucks zoning text change where, you know, under all of the circumstances, I'm not sure that a recommendation from the planning board is really necessary. But I suspect we should send something over by way of a memo saying that, you know, we have considered this. We are aware that the city council doesn't need to address this via a zoning ordinance change. So we have no real role in the process beyond having sat in on a couple of meetings. But we appreciate the discussion and the chance to have heard the issue with you. You know, this is not a recommendation because you didn't need us. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
I think, sorry, I'm eating, that's really gross, sorry. I think I missed the main big meeting on September 27th or so, so I probably won't be, I'm not even sure if this is something that requires, I mean, can I just vote on this, whatever decision we make here?
Yeah.
I don't see why you can't, because when it comes to zone change public hearings, all it has to be is 3 members, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same 3.
Okay.
So and basically it's arguably you'd only be offering a recommendation, so
Right,
it's not
right.
like
It's not like
it's
a-
not final text by any means. It's just, so if you wish to take a vote on this, you're more than welcome to, I would think. But it's not gonna be the end of the world if you don't.
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
think this is really a procedural vote for us, I
Right.
would think. I mean, you're just, unless you disagree with my suggestion about how to resolve this. This is, I mean, we're not sending them a recommendation. We're sending them a note saying that there is no recommendation because there is nothing within our jurisdiction in the end.
right,
there's nothing currently within our jurisdiction,
yeah,
and we welcome
Yeah,
further discussion if warranted.
yeah, exactly. Your language is better than mine. We'll use that instead.
I think one thing I suspect people might, I mean, I'm speculating what the city council might try to do is, they might create a new, like, a item you'll use. They might even include a food truck as a new item on the use table, and then maybe try to have some kind of requirement, special permit or site plan requirement for every zone. I'm just speculating.
But if they
But-
do that, they will have to refile the order and it'll come back to us.
Okay. Great. Yeah, so I'm just speculating. I don't have anything more to say. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just rushing us along because, you know, we have that note from Jeffrey saying, please be here by 6:30. But probably there's no reason to even rush.
If I could, can we just go back to item 2 for 1 second?
Can we
Just a brief.
finish
Sorry, I
this
thought we
one?
were.
No,
I
I
thought we
just
were,
need,
I'm sorry.
that's okay, I just need a vote.
Okay. So motion to approve the proposed letter to the city council about food trucks.
So moved. Who's writing it
Second.
though? Are you
Oh.
writing it, Mimi?
I
No,
think we're
well-
collectively writing it.
Or Sharon's pulling it from?
I'll send you a sample of a former one, if you want.
Thank you.
I got
That,
a motion by Kate. Is there a second?
Second,
By roll call vote, Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Nathan,
yes.
Kate,
yes.
and Mimi.
Yes.
Thanks.
So Jeff, item 2,
Yeah, so thank you for allowing just to go back to this briefly. So, because it is on our agenda, I think that the board is, or can speak of it prior to the meeting without breaking any public meeting rules or hearing issues. I think what the board needs to do though is establish how they want to see this ordinance be drafted or go down. And then that way it's not necessarily, I mean, maybe we can't come to some consensus now. Maybe it has to be in front of the ordinance committee. But it just seems like, in drafting this, how we just kind of set some, guidelines as to how you want to see it. Do we want it, does the board want it by special permit? Does the board want it allowed by right with site plan review? The order as drafted, states, ordered that the city council add a section for battery storage facilities to the zoning ordinance section to be determined to reflect technology advancements and future need for such installations. New facilities will be reviewed through section 10 major site plan review. So I mean, it's already kind of set up that they would be done by site plan review, but even in speaking with the gas and electric, there are certain parameters and certain kilowatt hour type of numbers that are applied to these uses or these installations that, that might call for allowed by right or by special permit. I mean, ideally, I think it would, I think the board feels the same way. I think it'd be in the best interest to not have it be by special permit. But like the section that the gas and electric drafted this based upon is in a section that would be dedicated to special permits. So, section aside, it's what they drafted includes the special permit. So, I don't know if the board just wanted to briefly discuss how you all possibly envision this moving forward. So that way, staff can start developing something and then, meeting with appropriate parties to help advance a future draft to the ordinance committee. I don't know if that made sense or not, but
Yeah.
basically, is there some direction that we should be going in this draft? And then that way, well, you know
I
how to-
have not been on this committee and I'm still playing catch up, but I have tried to do a little bit of reading about these facilities and their use. And, I'm very concerned about just allowing it as of right everywhere. Because, I can see it just wreaking havoc on neighborhoods where it's not appropriate. And I can see it actually being a huge problem even in downtown districts. You don't want some company with a whole lot of money to be able to say the mayor's dreams come true and the Victory Revival is a huge success. And somebody wants to take a street level thing that could have been a restaurant and put battery storage in there. We want to be able to say no to that, I would think. And at the same time, the smaller versions of the technology are really interesting. It turns out from the reading I've done, there are facilities that are small enough to actually be placed behind people's electrical meters if they're hooking up their own solar. And some of those can be not just for the household. There are all kinds of ways to network neighborhoods. And it's an evolving technology. And some of it I can't imagine would be banned now. I'm sure that if you have a solar installation on your roof, you could put your own battery storage into your house.
Right.
And, I think from my point of view, and, maybe Rosanna and Nathan have gone way further than I have, but, the ordinance that HG&E drafted really doesn't seem to me to look at all of the possibilities. It's like, we might want to plop these facilities down everywhere. How are we going to do it? Let's steal from the solar ordinance. And, you know, I understand why you would do that if you were HG&E, but I think our job is probably to think about the whole technology and talk to HG&E about the ways it could unfold before we draft an ordinance.
Right. So I mean, a lot of that comes down to, for instance, you know, like they were using 1,000 kilowatt hours, as anything less than that would just be allowed by right. But just have it be known that when you look at the actual units for installation, you know, 1,000 kilowatts is basically the size of a parking space, 9 by 18. And that would mean that, you know, could a company that does these installations basically go to anybody at that point and say, hey, can we put this, you know, a shed-like structure in your backyard? Is that a bad thing? You know, I guess it just depends on where you want to see your city go. You know, or look at it in terms of, would you rather have 1,000 small installations, or would you rather try to push towards 10 larger installations, and therefore they would be less obnoxious, cumbersome, or you know, within the neighborhoods. So I mean, those are other things to consider. You know, like the base, even a 260 square foot unit is about 3,000 kilowatt hours. And so, you know, I know the Gas and Electric said that they would not be present for this evening, that they'd be listening to the hearing tomorrow to see where it goes. They did offer that they would be willing to still advise us and meet with us as frequently as we need to. But I think at the end of the day, you know, again, under section 10.1.2 applicability, adding a number 7, which would basically say battery installations as found in blank, whatever that section might be, and then eventually creating the section, but that section might be heavily laden in more or less industry standard language. Or, you know, do you want to prohibit small installations, only allow larger ones, or do you want to allow a mix? From what Jonathan Zwerko from Gas and Electric did say as well, is that, like, say the smaller units or even the smaller units under 1,000 kWh, which again is about the size of you know, a parking space, is that they could already go in buildings like the Bay State building down on Babala Road, and that you wouldn't even know they're there. And they might even be just allowed because the whole idea is that these exterior installations are the, you know, less attractive, less aesthetically pleasing, need the, you know, protection from, you know, the with bollards, fencing and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that right now there could already be one of these in Bay State or the Elks Lodge, and we wouldn't even know it.
Yeah.
And so it's just those exterior standalone units that becomes the site plan reviewable or permittable thing. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's going to be more towards, you know, obviously the exterior installations, not so much the interior. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think it becomes a question of aesthetics in a large part. And I think the aesthetics are important because from what I understand, it is a technology that makes sense to have everywhere. It would make sense to have it in residential districts, but it could look very industrial. So the aesthetics is important because I think we want to figure out how to have it be anywhere, but have it blend in with anywhere, which sort of argues for it often to be a special permit, or maybe to be a special permit anytime it's outside and visible, or, you know.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
all
I
the
just-
examples, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So this all goes to why I feel like I at least need to know a lot more about the possibilities. Because yeah, no, I think a lot of it is aesthetics. A lot of it is fire control, because the one thing that I see everywhere is that these things do have a small but not negligible enhanced fire risk, and they're mostly lithium ion. If they do catch on fire, it's a nasty environmental problem. So presumably you need not only fire protection, but you need access. You know, at what point the installation is small enough that the fire department doesn't need enhanced access. And all of this, I'm sure that we can and should work it out so that, yeah, and we probably want these small units to be available everywhere ultimately, because we want to move to electricity. I'm just kind of afraid of opening the door too wide in the first instance because we don't know what we're doing. Or because I don't know what I'm doing, to be precise about it.
I think, I mean, yeah, the future is really uncertain, but I am concerned about this becoming a special permit process rather than like a more straightforward site plan process, review process. Because that also has a risk for just a lot of sort of arbitrary decisions and favoring certain applicants or just causing a lot of uncertain delays for the project. That's one thing. And yeah, so there are a couple risk factors when it comes to these battery from talking with the ACNE. And the main things that might affect neighborhoods, it's besides the aesthetics we talked about and fire risk. It's the size is a part of it. I guess the footprint, the off-gassing, which is interesting. I didn't realize, but there's actually a possibility of off-gassing while it's operating. And there's the humming noise. And I don't know how loud it is, but apparently these units make noise, like they hum, so,
Okay,
I
that's
mean,
definitely
yeah.
something that needs investigating because, the nightmare scenario, as it were, is we wind up with allowing them everywhere. And somebody with a lot of money comes in and puts them next door to you, and your quality of life and your neighbors is just destroyed by the noise.
And yes, at least what I understand about acoustics, as long as it's a contained unit, and it should be, as long as within a contained structure, sound control is a sole problem mostly. There are well-known ways to insulate sound, so it is solvable. But if this is going to be a serious factor, it has to be noted and I guess regulated. But it is a solvable problem as long as it's a contained structure. That's my understanding, anyways, with most building acoustics. Yeah, and as long as the power lines themselves that go into the buildings don't vibrate and create noise, if all the noise is coming from the internal unit itself, it should be controllable.
Yeah, and that's something that I would definitely want an ordinance to address, along with if you can't actually control the noise, you're out of business. If you build something and all of your acoustic controls fail and the neighborhood is complaining, the city shuts you down. No, oh gosh, we have to live with this. We spent so much money on it. But all of that is, that's a drafting problem. And, ideally, I think, this is something we tell the city council in half an hour and ask them to give us a reasonably long continuance so we can examine all of this and work it through. And, the site plan review thing is interesting because it's not quite a special permit. It's harder to turn down than a standard special permit, just a site plan review. And I think this is also something that we want to at least be aware of and make the call intentionally rather than just backing into something.
Yeah,
And-
the only, I would agree. I think that, it sounds like site plan review is more reasonable in a lot of ways than special permit, but I do think I would love to see it have more possibility for an aesthetic review than we might typically feel comfortable with on site plan review. This isn't really a matter of I don't like the way your house looks. This is more, does it, because these things are inherently going to look industrial, we are probably asking for them to be turned into looking like something that they aren't already.
Yeah, it's like the form-based code approach to zoning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I think you're right. We would be drafting a fairly unusual special site plan review set of standards for this.
And I mean, I don't know if there is already a zoning ordinance that guides how, sheds, how sheds and other secondary structures look, but if there's a way to refer to what already exists and have a more consistency with it, that might make things easier or at least consistent. And another interesting factor to consider is, having a site plan review process and something that's tied with each zone to create some kind of a customization consideration for each zoning district would be nice. But the problem with Holyoke is all the spot zones. So you might say in BH or IG, these structures can have these certain aesthetics. In a residential area, these buildings can have certain aesthetics. But the problem is, like, if you got a BH right next to residential zone, and the guy saying, "Oh, I'm just following the law," like I'm just following BH aesthetics for this storage unit. Yeah.
Well, that's why you bring it in front of a board that has a certain amount of discretion, and you write the ordinance to give the board that discretion. Because, we kind of cope with it now. The former Dunkin' Donuts, the one at Hampton and Pleasant, we had a long discussion with the applicant about how that was going to look. And ultimately, we just insisted, here are the pictures of the surrounding structures. You're matching these. You're not going with it's in X zone and therefore.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was like, piggyback on what Nathan said, because it goes anywhere from 80 square footage to 100,000 square footage. Like, should that be zone designated? But we have so many different zones. Like, how will we determine the fairness of where would 100,000 square feet storage battery go? Like, that's a big chunk of metal. Like, where would that go compared to 80 square feet?
Yeah, no, it's a complicated problem. And
But also how zoning may not necessarily, it can also be a difficult thing to apply certain standards to, because for instance, the Elks Lodge, which exists in an RA district just because it's a fraternal organization, under normal circumstances, if the Elks Lodge goes out of business tomorrow, unless they sell it to another lodge, a church, or perhaps some sort of outdoor recreational facility, that can't operate as like a restaurant or a commercial use. So if you allow them to do an exterior install, which is what their proposal is, to have 3 or 4 of those Connex box type, units there, probably the size of a tractor trailer, it's zoned RA. So though you might say in an RA, we're going to have it be smaller, but in this regard, so you almost have to subjectively look at the zoning plus the existing use of the property to be able to then apply how big or how expansive the future installation can be. So
yeah,
just throwing it
it's
out
a tough drafting problem, and that's after we've settled what we want to actually see.
right. And Sharon, did you reach out? Did Jeffrey end up commenting whether or not the ordinance committee is meeting twice in March or not?
No, we can find out tonight.
Okay,
did not call
gotcha.
back.
Okay. Because right now, tentatively, we would be looking at March 28th, unless the board feels that we could have something done the previous meeting, but we aren't sure if the council's meeting, or rather ordinance is meeting twice a month anymore or not. So just seeking that clarification.
Yeah, I don't know how long realistically to expect this to take. It seems, I would love to get it done, but it does seem like a difficult policy and drafting job.
I mean, one unfortunate thing.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Rosanna, first.
No, I was talking about the battery storage. Yeah, I think we really need to nitpick this. Like, I think this is something we're gonna have to repeatedly talk about to get what we want.
I think, yeah, one unfortunate thing is my understanding is the state law doesn't have a template or a guidance on this issue. And I know when it comes to electric bikes, because I have one, I think one private group was trying to push a statewide law to create an official classes of electric bikes, like 3 different classes with some specific definitions to kind of make it easier to enforce based on the class. And I think this idea of a 1,000 kilowatt or lower versus 1,000 higher than 1,000 kilowatt hour that's already sort of a kind of a class system, you know, creating two different classes. So I mean, there's a possibility of this becoming arbitrary or not very effective. But if we also approach it from a, you know, like a issue of having different classes and then how they fit in different neighborhoods and different zones or different uses, maybe that's one possibility.
Well, all of this is why I at least would like to know a whole lot more about the technology. And maybe I can get it from HG&E, maybe I can get it just from general reading. But it is hard to legislate for something that you don't fully understand yourself.
I'm dreaming that the state will come up with some amazing guidelines and then we can just follow it.
That's a nice dream. Is one of us gonna, it's certainly not gonna be me. Is one of us gonna sort of run the presentation for the explanation for ordinance about where we're at?
Well,
I guess I would nominate Nathan to do that if he could.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess Rosanna and I spent most time on it. I'm okay. I mean, if Rosanna.
And basically,
doesn't-
all you've got to say is that the
Yeah.
planning board is currently working with staff
Yeah.
to advance a draft, and that we've already met with and spoke to the HG&E on several occasions, as most recently as last week, and that we hope to have a draft to you all in the weeks to come. But at this point, we seek to continue to March 28th and just have it be a quick 3-minute discussion.
Yeah, we need more information.
yeah, no, that,
Bottom line.
yeah, and I think that only because I'm usually the one who does this, it would be nice if one of you guys could make that little speech to them, but if you don't feel like you can, I can do it.
I can do it.
I can do it. Nathan can
Or-
do it.
I mean, or on, yeah,
This is a good one to rip the Band-Aid off.
yeah, and I'll probably, you know, stumble a little bit, but the other possibility, if somebody in the city council is not acting in a civil way, one of these days I'm gonna lose it. Oh, so I apologize for saying that on the public,
Well,
but
no, but no,
yeah,
I think this should be pretty straightforward. I mean, they may have questions about what it is we're still looking at. And as we have just demonstrated, we can talk for quite a long time about what we're still looking at.
right,
And
right.
you will
So
not be alone in talking about it.
I'll just say, you know, we are working to advance the draft, talk with HAD, need more information, and hope to have a draft for you by March 28th. And actually, I took some notes. May I share the screen quickly?
You
Just
got 15 minutes, that's all I'm
Oh.
gonna tell you.
okay, maybe not. Yeah, so I actually took some notes. So if some questions come up, I will be able to share some ideas. Okay,
But no, I think the shorter we can keep this, the better. And if we are fortunate, they will accept there's a lot of technical information. It really affects how we write this ordinance. And we need more time to work through it and get all of our questions answered before you have a draft you can even use.
I did just hear from Jeffrey, and yes, they're meeting the once a month because of availability issues of committee members, so tends to be at the end of the
Oh.
month.
That's all right. You know, this is a long process and we will make good use of the time.
okay, awesome. Yeah, guess so.
Okay, we all prepared to, when we're called over there, go back over their different systems and different considerations and let us go do our work. Then back to the agenda, if I can find it. Right, on to planning board business. I doubt we're going to get through this, by the way. We'll probably have to go back, we'll come back here after the city council releases us. First up was an executive session, which we are not doing tonight, as I understand it. Our council has no new information for us. Which brings us to project updates, old business, new business. And I have a big item here about the hiring process for Planner One. But if anybody has anything else they want to get through before we launch into that, you can go for it.
Just one brief thing I can bring up is just so you all know that the mayor has appointed Kevin Lajemonier, who has been the assistant building commissioner now for, I think, about 12 years. He is now formally the acting building commissioner. That's a
Okay.
5-year term, I think, or is it? It's either 3 or 5. Now I'm second guessing myself. Let's say it's a
Actually-
3-year term appointed. What's that?
You said acting building commissioner?
Well, he's the, I should say, he is now the building commissioner. But he still has some work to do in his licensure, but now this appointment allows him to advance that. So he is now our go-to building commissioner. Which is a good thing. You know, Kevin's been around, you know, again, for about 12 years and, you know, he's really good out in the field. So that's one item. I think that was it. Yeah, so I guess it was just going into the Planner One as you had started that conversation.
Okay, so as I think everybody here already knows, the city has had a job posting out for a Planner One. And this may actually be the second round, and it either closed or is about to close the period for submission of applications.
It has closed.
Okay, it's closed. We are, I think by consensus, the hiring authority for this position. Nevertheless, we did not look over the job posting itself on either round. And should this come up again, I expect that we will. But we do have some applications. And the next question for us is how the board wants to proceed in reviewing them. And also, just a point of business, it may be that our ability to hire anybody depends on a review of the office space available for them. And I had thought that one of us or two of us, probably Kate, who I happen to know is very good at space management, should talk to Aaron Vega as the director of the office and see if we can just get a walkthrough of potential spaces and come up with any workable suggestions at all. And if the board is okay with that, I will get in contact with our OPED director and see if we can set that up. But after that, the more substantive thing is, how do we want to handle these applications? Does everybody want to see all the resumes? Do we want to ask Jeff to take a first cut at them? And my feeling also is, I think it is very much worth all of our time to, once we see them, also talk to Jeff about what qualifications and kinds of work experience would be most helpful to him in this position. Because, when I knew that we were posting for it, my first thought was, Jeff needs backup. And there's all kinds of stuff that basically, as far as I know, only he knows. And if he ever leaves us, God help us all.
I was just gonna say that Jeff should take the lead as far as like guiding us, because he knows what he needs.
Yeah.
And we just lost Sharon.
Oh, she's still there.
Oh, we lost her video. Oh, never mind. Sorry, I have it. I hide video and I hide non-video participants, so that's why. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, if Jeff can give us feedback. I mean, is it gonna be then, do you see this as being a public process, Madam Chair? Like, is he gonna talk about this in a public meeting with us? What he's looking for, what Jeff is looking for, and or is just gonna be like, yeah, how is the process gonna happen?
That's a good question. When we've done this in the past, I believe the final interviews were in public session, but we should check with the law department and see if they need to be in executive session. Or whether we want to appoint a subcommittee when we come down to it to interview the top 3 candidates or whatever. And I have so far, my only thoughts have been how to screen the resumes, how we want to identify our top candidates, whether the board will want to look at all of the resumes or just look at the ones that we delegate Jeff to suggest to us. And I'm going to just throw this open for general discussion at this point.
Do we know at this point how many applications there are? Because I think my answer about whether we want to look at some or all of them depends a little bit on how many there are. If there are only 20 applications, I'll look at all of them, but if they're 300, I want somebody else to screen them.
No, I believe it's like 12 to 14 perhaps.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah, then I don't see any problem. I mean, yes, I absolutely want staff's input on who the best candidates are, but if there are only 12 or 14 applicants, I don't see any problem looking at all of them.
Okay,
And do we want to do this in a private session or in a public session like Nathan asked?
well, I would think in the first instance, if we can just get these distributed to us with whatever confidentiality requirements the personnel office feels are necessary. I'm not sure whether any are, but I think we need, Kelly's office and maybe the law department to weigh in on that.
And I'm looking at the Massachusetts official site on the executive session requirements, and one of them is like to consider interview applicants for employment or appointment by a preliminary screening committee if the chair declares an open meeting will have a detrimental effect in obtaining qualified. So I mean, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but it seems like it might be applicable. But yes, I
Yeah,
guess you need a legal opinion, and
well, obviously, if we should be doing it that way, we will do it that way.
Right.
And I never have a problem with entering into executive session. I just prefer to have the lawyers tell us whether it's okay, because it's either okay or it is forbidden. You don't have an in-between.
So at this point, what I'm hearing is we're going to reach out to the law department, find out how to transmit the resumes to you. And I'm looking at them. There's 23 total files, but some of those files are like the resume and the cover letter. So there might only be really a dozen or so applications.
Yeah.
But at this point, I know, like, using myself as an example, some years ago, there were 5 of us brought before the board, and then the board made the selection. I know as of recent, it's been, a board member or 2 sitting in on the interviews and then, making that final decision. Prior to the original senior planner, which was the former Claire Ricker from, I think, about 6 or 8 years ago now, she and another woman were brought in as interviewed by the board that for the evening. How do you all envision this going or happening? Do you want something similar to that, do you think, or just trying to gauge how we're going to move forward?
Now, as I recall, and I may be misremembering this, we also had the OPED director sitting in with us, although he
That's
did not
correct.
make the final call. But
Correct.
yeah, I would envision interviewing the top candidates that way, unless the board as a whole wants to delegate people instead. And as a courtesy, I certainly would think that we ought to invite the OPED director.
Certainly. Because I'm just looking at scheduling wise too, like
Yeah.
right now, February 28th, we have nothing on the agenda, which, it could be a light agenda. It could be a continuation from something on February 14th, but we have not received anything from those 2 items yet. But, or we've got March 14th. So I'm just looking at the calendar going out.
Well, depending on how quickly we can get the resumes circulated, maybe we could at least start the discussion on the 28th.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I mean, if that's enough time, well, no, we don't need like weeks of notice to post an executive session. And if we don't need it, we don't use it.
So just, I've tentatively put that on the well, my version of the calendar, just for February 28th, that we would have all those, everything answered, because our next meeting again will be February 14th, so we can obviously give a
Yeah.
status report as to where we are at that point.
Yeah, that sounds ideal. I'm still mixing up like space and time. I forgot February 14th even existed.
Yeah.
Okay, where we at?
Well, we might be at minutes,
Okay.
although this skips over meeting schedule.
Oh. Well, February 28th, we're gonna add executive session for resumes.
Yeah.
The planner one position. Okay. February 14th, we have the site plan review Duncan remand and the Northampton Street residential development.
Which
And
we've
we
heard
will-
nothing of either project. And Sharon, I know that you reached out to Alexandra Sacchetti concerning the site visit. Did she ever get back to you?
Nope, no response.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah, well, we know that we will have to continue at least one of those, but we don't have a date yet, so there's no point in discussing it yet.
Alexandra's for the White Hood, right? The White Hood person?
Yeah, it's that same it's a project manager, yeah.
I sent you guys the minutes for review.
Yes,
And Kate came back with one change. And I lost where the folder is. I'm sorry, I got delayed.
Yeah, my only suggestion was a small wording change, and I did look at the other ones that you sent later, Sharon, and those looked fine to me.
Okay. Here it is. Anybody have any comments, questions, concerns?
I've been through these really fast.
yeah, no, I was fine with them.
It was just, this is not the one.
Yes, it obviously isn't the one because.
That is
Dirk, that's
not
what
the
you
one.
see.
Clearly, that was not the one. There it is. Now share. I just put that one line, Kate, where you asked me to. My mouse is not cooperating. Here we go. I bolded it. Where is it? Right here.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
is
So
by
just to
the
explain to
area.
people what I did under the planning board business project updates on the 41 Temple Street, I asked Sharon to add the part that's in bold
Yeah,
there to specify that the zone change was approved by the city council,
yeah, Good
just so
catch.
that it would be clear to a reader that it wasn't us.
yeah, no, the excellent amendment. Thank you.
All right, does anybody need to see the other ones?
No,
Okay,
I
is there a
think
motion?
one quick question I have is whether formally the minutes need to note who's absent, if there are anybody absent, any member who's absent, if we need to note that, because I'm seeing some of the minutes don't have Gerlinder listed anywhere, but then at the very bottom, his name is listed as the signer. So
so he is the secretary. I guess we've always been under the rule that he's a secretary and signs it. He's not attesting that he was at the meeting.
okay,
Just
Yeah.
that they're done. If that changes, I just need to know.
Yeah, yeah,
You
no,
could put it somewhere like unavailable when he's unavailable though, like in the minutes.
Well, I could start putting next to people's names if they're absent, if that adds clarification, if that's what you're looking for.
yeah, I think I think at the open meetings class yesterday, actually, they said if a member is not, or if a member is, the attendance list at the top, I think it technically needs to note all members, including who's absent and who's present. So
Okay, I'll start to make that change.
that might be wrong, but I vaguely
No, it's
remember that being the
probably,
case.
it's a good
Yeah,
practice anyway.
so many rules.
Okay. Alrighty, I'll make that change going forward.
Thank you. So,
So can I make a motion that we approve those 3 sets of minutes as a package as amended?
I think you can, yes. Thank you.
So for the record, that would be November 15th planning, December 13th site plan review for the Dunkin' Donuts, and September 13th special permit for Bay State.
Is there a
Yeah.
second?
I second the motion.
By roll call vote, Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Nathan,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Mimi.
Yes.
Okay,
All right on time.
well, other business reports, should we table that or?
I just wonder whether we might want to leave the meeting open and come back to, it's going to be pretty simple to come back to this, and there might be some
More discussion.
5-minute reason to do that.
Motion to recess?
Motion to recess and see you at ordinance.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Oh, that's me. Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Nathan,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Mimi.
Yes.
I was wondering why nobody was talking. Okay, see
So-
you there.
Okay.